Okay, so you want to teach English, maybe travel the world a little bit, maybe see what it's like working online.
Yeah.
TFL certification has probably popped up on your radar.
Mm-hmm.
And today we are going to dive into a post from the Ahoy Matey blog called TEFL Teaching Qualification. Teach English Abroad with TFL certification.
Okay.
Consider this deep dive your shortcut to figuring out what exactly TFL is, why it seems to be more and more important, and how to even get started.
Yeah.
Especially if you've been thinking about teaching but don't have a degree.
Right.
So let's get into it.
Cool. I think for a lot of our listeners out there, the big question is TFA legit?
Right.
Is this a real pathway of teaching English online or in other countries, especially if you don't have like the traditional university background?
Yeah,
And this blog post gives us some pretty good insights
for
that
sure.
we're here to unpack it all.
Yeah, so basics first in the world of TFL.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
the blog post says it right up front.
Uh-huh.
Teaching English as a foreign language.
Yeah.
But it's more than just like, an acronym, right?
Yeah.
It's framed as like a professional qualification.
Uh-huh.
And it's becoming something that you see more and more as like a requirement for these teaching jobs,
Oh, yeah.
whether online or in person
Definitely.
in other countries.
Absolutely. I think what's really interesting is that shift that we're seeing. Like,
Yeah.
it used to be you needed a university degree in education that was like the gold standard.
Right.
But TEFL is becoming this like really focused skills-based alternative.
Right.
It shows employers that you've got specific training in how to actually teach English to people who don't speak it as a first language.
Right.
So maybe your background is in business or art or something completely different.
Yeah.
But TEFL bridges that gap.
Totally. Yeah. And the blog post makes this point that this certification can really help people, especially those without a degree, kind of like overcome those traditional barriers
Right.
to getting a teaching job.
Exactly.
It's like this specialized toolkit
Yeah.
that can unlock these opportunities that might otherwise be out of reach.
For sure.
So you might be thinking, okay, how important is TELs really?
Yeah. Is it essential?
Yeah, do I need to do this?
Mm-hmm.
The blog post kind of tackles this head on and says, you know what?
Yeah.
While you might find like the occasional situation where it's not like absolutely mandatory,
Right.
the global trend is really pointing toward schools and organizations really preferring and often requiring teachers to have this certification.
It's like increasingly common.
Yeah, it's not just a bonus anymore.
Right.
It's an expectation.
Yeah.
It's like you're showing them, hey, I'm not just relying on being a native English speaker.
Yeah.
I've actually invested the time and the effort to understand how to teach.
Exactly.
The blog post highlights that accredited online TF courses can really boost your chances of finding teaching work abroad.
And that accreditation piece is really interesting
Yeah.
because it means that the course has met certain standards.
Right.
The training that you get is recognized as valid and legitimate. So when the blog post talks about accredited TFL courses online, it's talking about a level of quality assurance that
Yeah,
employers are looking for.
exactly. So this blog post we're looking at today keeps mentioning this premier TFL.
Yeah.
Who are they in this world of TFL certification?
So they're presented as an option for getting TFL certified.
Okay.
They provide these accredited courses that are taught by qualified instructors.
Got it.
And the idea seems to be to give you the skills and the confidence to be a TFL teacher,
Yeah.
whether that's in a classroom overseas or working with students online.
Right. Okay. So let's say you are considering getting TFL certified.
Yeah.
What does that even look like?
Right. What's involved?
Yeah. What's the time commitment?
The blog post gives us a good idea.
Okay.
TFL courses, you can do them online or in person,
Okay.
and they typically last about 4 weeks.
Okay. So that's a pretty like
Yeah.
focused period of time.
Intensive,
Yeah. What are they actually teaching you?
Right.
It can't all be just like,
just grammar.
brushing up on your grammar
No, definitely not.
as the teacher.
So the curriculum typically covers these really important things like classroom management,
Okay.
which is huge for actually running a class effectively.
Right.
Lesson planning.
Yeah.
So you know how to structure your classes logically.
Makes sense.
And yes, there's a grammar component
yeah.
because you need to have a solid understanding of the language that you're teaching.
Of course, you need to know to explain it.
Right. Exactly.
Now, the blog post also mentions that practical teaching experience is part of a lot of courses.
Yeah.
And that seems super valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you can learn all the theory you want,
Yeah.
but actually getting in front of students even if it's just practice.
Yeah.
It's got to be so helpful.
It's so good for building your confidence
Right.
and refining your skills. And Premier TEFL seems to highlight that
Right.
they talk about organized teaching practice internships and even job placement help afterwards.
Wow.
So it's more than just getting the certificate.
Yeah, they're trying to support you in launching your actual career.
Right. It's not just about getting the piece of paper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They also mention lifetime access to training resources and personal support even after you finish the certificate.
Oh, wow. That's a great resource.
Yeah, that's a huge lifeline
Yeah.
for someone just starting out.
For sure.
So that ongoing support and access to materials, it can be so helpful
Absolutely.
as you're figuring out your first teaching experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So they're committed to helping you long term.
Yeah, it shows.
Now, the blog post gives an example of one specific course, the Premier TEFL 120-hour course.
120 hours.
What does that even mean?
What did you get?
Yeah, what do you get?
So it includes the 120 hours of accredited online training.
Okay.
It gives you the internationally recognized certificate, which is what employers are looking for.
Right.
A letter of reference,
Yeah.
which can be super helpful when you're applying for jobs.
Yeah.
And it preps you for both online and overseas teaching. And you get personal tutor support throughout the course
That's great.
and advice on how to find a job.
Wow, so this is a pretty comprehensive package to make you employable.
It sounds like it.
And they list some more general benefits of choosing Premier TEFL. What are the big ones?
They really emphasize that their courses are accredited, which means their qualifications are recognized by employers.
Got it.
They also point to high customer satisfaction.
Oh, cool.
So people who take their courses are generally happy
Right.
with the training and the outcomes.
Oh.
So it seems like a reliable way to
Yeah.
become a certified English teacher
Yeah.
and find work abroad.
Okay, so you've got your TEFL certificate. What happens next?
Right.
The blog post talks about the job application process after certification.
Mm-hmm.
What are the key things to remember?
Well, the certificate is your foundation.
Okay.
It shows employers that you have the training.
Right.
But Premier TFL also offers job placement assistance. They have lifetime membership to their jobs website,
Okay.
which is like a dedicated platform for finding TFL jobs.
Nice.
And you get access to a network of global employers through their recruitment site.
So they're expanding your reach
Exactly.
on your job hunting.
It's all about connecting qualified teachers with open positions.
It sounds like they're really trying to make that transition from being certified to actually having a job
Yeah.
much smoother.
Mm-hmm.
They even mention opportunities for organized teaching practice and internships,
Wow.
jobs that they directly help facilitate.
So that's huge if you're not even sure where to start looking.
Yeah, having those connections and pathways can make it so much easier
Absolutely.
to find your first teaching role.
Less scary, too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, this is important.
Okay.
The blog post makes this really clear.
Uh-huh.
Visa requirements.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Yeah,
You have to do your research
right.
on the specific country you want to teach in. Many countries require TFL certified teachers to get a work visa before they can start working.
Yeah, you cannot skip that step.
It's essential.
It's so easy to get caught up in like, oh, I'm going to get TFL certified and I'm going to live in another country.
I know it's exciting.
But the visa stuff is serious.
You've got to do it.
Okay, so the blog post mentions some specialized courses
Uh-huh.
that Premier TFL offers,
Yeah.
like mindfulness and yoga for early childhood educators.
Interesting.
Yeah, why bring that up?
It's kind of a sign that TFL is evolving.
Okay.
Providers are offering courses for more specific needs within English language education.
Right.
So this course in particular focuses on using mindfulness and yoga
Okay.
in classrooms with young children.
Got it.
It's about giving teachers extra tools to create a good learning environment.
Makes sense.
So they learn about things like breathing exercises, simple yoga poses you can do in a chair,
Cool.
and understanding the mental and physical benefits of mindfulness for these little kids.
It's cool to see that kind of specialization happening. You
Yeah.
know, they're recognizing that these more holistic approaches are really valuable,
Mhm.
especially with younger students.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, back to Premier TFL in general.
Okay.
The blog post really hammers this point home
Mm-hmm.
about their accreditation and recognition.
Right.
Why is that so important?
Well, accreditation shows that a course meets certain quality standards.
Yeah.
The blog post says that Premier TFL's accreditation is trusted and respected.
Okay.
So that means their certificates are going to be recognized by employers.
Right.
And they also mention that their courses are regulated by the English government.
Okay.
They're internationally recognized, employer approved, and recommended by a huge percentage of their past students.
So it's like a seal of approval.
Yeah, exactly.
It tells employers this is legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, last thought.
Okay.
The blog post ends with a final thought on the TFL qualification,
Yeah.
particularly through Premier TFL.
Okay.
What's the big takeaway?
It boils down to this getting a TFL qualification, especially through a provider like Premier TFL,
Yeah.
gives you the skills and training to teach English overseas.
Even without a degree.
Even without a degree, exactly.
That's huge.
It's a real pathway into the profession.
Yeah, and they even say something pretty bold at the end.
What's that?
Premier TFL might be the only TFL course you'll ever need for teaching abroad.
That's a big statement.
They're confident.
Yeah.
So to wrap up for everyone,
Okay.
TFL certification. We've learned from this blog post, it is valuable. It's becoming more and more essential if you want to teach English abroad
Yeah,
or even online.
for sure.
And it can open doors for those who don't have a traditional degree.
That's huge.
Premier TFL is one example of a way to get certified. They
Yeah.
have accredited courses, practical support,
Yeah.
and even help finding a job.
Exactly. And it makes you think, with
Yeah.
so much demand for English teachers globally,
Yeah?
and TSL certification being relatively accessible, what new possibilities are out there?
Right.
What kinds of cultural experiences could you have?
Yeah.
What personal growth could you find
Yeah.
by living and working in another country or connecting with students online?
That's a good question.
What doors could this open that you hadn't even considered before?
Yeah, that's something to think about.
Definitely.
That's all for today's deep dive.
Thanks for listening.